I'm here with Senior Curator of Birds, Dr. Joe Cooper, standing just outside the new Birds exhibition, and it's been fantastic to see. So how long is a project like this in the works?
2.5 years we've been on this, developing the story, picking out the specimens from our collections, and then also all the design. So just to make it this kind of gorgeous space that people can come into and just basically get immersed in the birdverse.
I think immersive is the perfect word for it. It's incredible when you step inside. And what is kind of the key thing that you want people to take away from this exhibition?
One is that they find birds more amazing and they feel more connected to them, but also they come away feeling like there's something that they can do. Whoever you are, I would love it for folks to come away thinking, I can do that and help birds.
It's a really fantastic message, and I think for myself one bit that really stood out is the incredible white-tailed eagles at the end. So what can you tell us about these birds?
I love the eagles as well. I really wanted those in. So white-tailed eagles are the UK's largest bird of prey. They're actually the 4th largest eagle in the world. They are being reintroduced. So there's been reintroduction projects in Scotland for a really long time, and now they're coming back to England, and they bred for the first time in hundreds of years last year in the south coast. But people don't see them very often, so what we wanted to do is give people an opportunity to see these incredible birds up close, and we were able to work with the Swedish National Museum of Natural History, who were kind enough to donate some birds from Sweden, from their own collections. So we've been able to set them up in these incredible dynamic poses to give people that encounter really close up to see what is coming back to the UK, and maybe help people really want to look out for them or support those projects, and also understand why it's so important that we get these big predators back into our ecosystems to help balance everything. They just have an amazing effect.
How many specimens do you have, and what kind of specimens are they?
We have well over 1 million specimens in the research collections, and that's split between lots of different types of material. I look after anatomical material, so skeleton and, a little bit weirdly, pickled birds. There's about 65,000 of those. We have what's called study skins, which are a kind of stuffed bird. They just look like little dead birds on their backs, really. We also have many eggs, millions of eggs if you count them individually, and we have nests as well. So we have a little bit of everything.
I love what you mentioned there about the pickled birds. So how do the spirit collections, how do they work?
We basically take whole birds and they go upside down, head first, into jars, and those jars are then filled with 80% industrial methylated spirits. So it is, bird pickling. We have to kind of top them up every now and then, change the spirit, but it's the most information you can preserve about a bird because you've got the whole bird. Now we're seeing more people wanting to use it for like CT scanning, so they can look at the skeleton, they're starting to look at the tissue in more detail. We don't have to dissect them anymore, which is great, because if you've got the only extinct pickled bird of its species in the world, dissecting it is a problem, but it's a whole new world of technical analysis, which is fantastic.
I was also curious to know about the skeletonized ones. So how do you go from a bird to a skeleton?
It's a great question, and we use nature, basically. We have beetle colonies. So we feed the beetles and they work for us and they eat all the flesh off the bones. So we normally pluck the birds first so they don't have to deal with all the feathers. We might, if it's a really big bird, we might start stripping some of the flesh off just to give the beetles a good start. And it's great because we're not using too many chemicals. The beetles, they go through all the different size stages so they can get in all the little nooks and crannies. Lovely clean skeleton, and then it's ready for a final clean brush up, databasing and into the collections for research.
And we actually had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Erica McAllister about the incredible beetles you use here. So what can you tell me about the domesteriums, I believe they're called?
The domestic beetles, which live in their domesterium, and domestids are really important in forensic entomology, which is the kind of science of understanding how long a body's been left in a place by looking at what insects are kind of active on the corpse. And our domestids would be like one of the last things on, but ours behave a bit differently because they've been so long in captivity and we've been feeding them all this juicy good stuff for decades. They actually behave differently now to their wild ones. So they like things kind of wetter and juicier and fresher than they would naturally in the wild now.
So are you constantly making your own new exhibits at the museum?
Yeah, all the time, because what's really important is that we keep adding to the collections, not only to add new species, but also to make sure that we keep up a time series. So it's really important that folks in 50 years' time can go back to the collections and look at birds today so that folks in the future can keep understanding how nature is kind of carrying on through time.
And going back to the exhibition, I love how it kicks off with the introduction of the idea that birds are dinosaurs. Do you think it could be fair to argue that we are still living in an age of dinosaurs?
I think we'd have to, because that's where they came from. I love the idea that people are keeping, pet budgie dinosaurs. I think it gives us maybe helps people respect birds even more for this incredible survival story that a handful of groups came through. They diversified into all these wonderful 11,000 species that we have today. And I think it just makes you have to respect them even more, that they've come through all of that. They're facing huge challenges now from us. And if thinking of them as dinosaurs gives them that extra bit of respect from us, bring it on. They're all kind of related in the same way, because they've all come from the same. But yes, I think some birds, people are going to see that resemblance more closely than others. Where I would look at it particularly is, I think in birds like the ratites, like this fabulous ostrich behind me. If you look at ostrich feet, and it hasn't got an ostrich on top of it, it looks like you're looking at a dinosaur's foot. The scales, the claws. I think people also see some resemblance in things like pelicans with these great long bills. I think it also makes us think about, what were the dinosaurs like? Because we know birds to be incredibly colourful, all this song, the courtships. So folks talking to me in the exhibition, folks have been saying, well, what did the dinosaur dawn chorus sound like? Wow, so thinking about what we know about birds today is also helping us understand about dinosaurs in the past.
That's a fantastic idea and something I'd never considered before. I would love to hear a dinosaur dawn chorus.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. We just keep finding out so much. The last 20 years have been absolutely huge for understanding early birds and the origin of birds. And we know from these amazing deposits, especially in China, where the birds have these long tail streamers. So all of that explosion, it must have been colourful, noisy. We can only imagine it, but I think we know it was there.
So just to finish on, if it's not too mean a question, do you have a favourite bird kind of evolution or behaviour from the exhibition that people can see?
I think the one that really blew me away when the exhibition team brought it to me and said, right, we're thinking about this story, was that zebra finches, which people might know as these little pet birds, do this incredible thing. So they live in a super arid environment in Australia naturally, but what zebra finches do is sing to their developing embryos in their eggs when it gets really hot, and their singing actually programs the development of the embryo to be able to cope with heat better after hatching. Wow. How can you program by sound the development of something? That just astonished me, that one. That was bonkers.
I think bonkers is the right word, and there are so many great examples of this in the exhibition, so definitely check it out. Thank you so much for your time, Joe. It's been great to chat to you.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoy it, and I'd really like loads of other people to come and enjoy it too.